Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are doing fine. We know soldering plays a very important role in the making of electronic circuit. In this video, I will show you how soldering and desoldering can be done. Before I tell you how soldering is done, let me tell you what is soldering. Soldering is a process in which two metal pieces are joined together with the help of an alloy. This soldering alloy is made of lead and tin taken in 60 and 40 ratio. A 60-40 soldering alloy is of a good quality, and you always go for a soldering alloy whose gauge is around 20 to 22. This is a 60-40 soldering alloy and its gauge is around 22. And nowadays soldering alloy comes with a resin core. So in order to apply flux externally, they come with a soldering flux mixed with them. Okay, and the most important thing required for soldering is nothing but a soldering iron. The soldering iron is available in different power rating. This is a 25-watt soldering iron. Here, the soldering tip of this iron can be replaced. It is available in different form. We have wedge-shaped soldering iron tip. We have sharp soldering iron tip. It is meant for different types of soldering, depending upon the shape and size of components. Then this kind of soldering stand is required to hold your to keep your soldering iron when it is not in use. And if you use this kind of wet sponge, then it will be easy for you to clean the tip whenever it is required. If you also make use of this kind of copper wool to clean the tip, what you have to do is just you apply some soldering alloy, then insert this and twist your soldering iron by keeping it inside this copper wool. This cleans your soldering iron tip. This can also be cleaned. Now, before cleaning a soldering tip with the help of copper wool, you clean this using wet sponge. Okay, I keep it aside. Now, I told you this soldering iron is of a 25-watt power rating. I have few more with me. This is a 50-watt soldering iron. I use this soldering iron to solder a constant and wire in a potentiometer. This is a 30-watt soldering iron. It has got a sharp soldering tip meant for minute work. I have one more device with me. Now, this kind of device is known as soldering station. It has got a fine tip used for micro soldering. Here, this soldering station is provided with a knob. By rotating that, you can select the temperature range from low to high. Now keep all these things aside. I'll show you how soldering is done. Apart from soldering iron and soldering alloy, the next thing you require is nothing but soldering paste or soldering flux. Soldering flux is available in different forms. It is available in liquid form. It is also available in the form of paste. In tubes you get this, and this is in a solid form. It is called as a rosin. It is in solid form. When you keep the hot soldering iron, it melts. The work of the soldering flux is to remove any kind of oxidizing layer present on the component or the metal which is soldered. So it plays a very important role in soldering. Now I keep these things away. I usually use this white soldering paste. I keep these things aside. I'll show you how soldering is done. To make your work easy, you can also use this kind of soldering clips. It is used to hold the components while you perform the soldering. Now I'll start the soldering work. See what I do. Before you solder, you apply small amount of flux to the end which is going to be soldered. Now take a piece of wire. I'll twist this, then I'll apply small amount of paste, soldering flux to this end as well. Then for this carefully, what I do, I cover the tip with the soldering alloy. Now I give a thin coating on this wire. And I do the same thing to the resistor as well. I have covered the end with the soldering alloy. Now I place them this way, close to each other. Then I just solder. Now it has got soldered. This is how soldering can be done. A good soldering is one which glitters. Now I'll keep this aside. Now I'll take a multi-purpose PCB. Now before you start soldering, my advice is to clean the surface with the sandpaper. Just rub it this way to remove any kind of oxidizing layer present on it. The next, now I will solder this resistor in this PCB. So to do that, before I start soldering this, I will clean the ends as well with the help of this sandpaper. Then I insert this somewhere here. Okay, so I've done this. See, I'll place it. Then Now I'll apply small amount of soldering flux to the ends. Then look at this carefully what I do. I just heat the end which I'm going to solder, then I place a soldering alloy. The same thing I do to this end as well. I place the soldering iron tip in such a way that this terminal of the resistor and the PCB both receives heat from the soldering iron. Then I bring this soldering alloy near to it, so it melts, and this is how it flows and it gets fixed to the PCB board. Now I'll remove the excess lead with the help of nipper. I've done the same. Now soldering is done. You can see how beautifully it has got soldered. Next I'll place this LED beside this and I solder this as well in the similar way. Before I start, I apply small amount of soldering paste to the ends. Then I solder this. See. Solder this to end. Okay, fine. The soldering is done. See, while soldering, see that you should not apply excess amount of soldering metal. And this is how soldering can be done. The reverse of soldering is desoldering. Now I'll show you how desoldering can be done. For desoldering, usually desoldering wick is used. It is a copper strip which is in the form of wick. And I'll show you how desoldering is done. For desoldering, first we clean the soldering iron tip. Then we place the wick on the part of the joint which is needed to be desoldered. Now I place it this way. Then over that I place this hot soldering iron. Just hold it for some time. You may observe the soldering metal has got removed now. Now this end is free. Now I repeat the same thing to this end as well. Just slowly this wick sucks out or removes the soldering metal. Now it's almost free to come off. One end has come off. Now I'll free another end as well. It's completely free now. See, it has come off. This is how desoldering can be done. There is one more method of desoldering. Desoldering can be done with the help of a desoldering pump. Let me show you. For desoldering, using a desoldering pump, you need to place the hot soldering iron this way, then bring it near, keep it this way, slowly, you see, the end has come off. This is how soldering and desoldering can be done. In some cases, suppose if you have applied excess amount of flux during soldering, in such case you can make use of isopropyl alcohol to remove that excess soldering flux from the PCB. Let me share you one tip. I will tell you how one can find out whether the soldering iron tip has got hot or not. This can be found very easily by bringing it near to your nostrils. If you bring it near to your nose, you can feel the heat. Otherwise, if you dip the soldering iron in a flask, it will give out fumes. This is the indication that your soldering iron is ready to solder. I hope the video is useful. If you have any kind of doubt related to the topic, kindly put a question in the comment section. Thanks for watching.